It is 5:05 a.m. on July 17, and today we're doing something different, something fun. We're reading, actually not from paperback, but I have the paperback, A Love Story, The Deal by Ellie Kennedy. This book surprised me. It was written very well, had really good dialogue, all that stuff, but man, did it get, I don't want to say raunchy, but some really punchy language. And real quick before we continue, my girlfriend's son left food on the banister, which had chocolate. It means nothing to you, but it attracted a lot of black little ants. So when I picked it up, took it downstairs to the kitchen, the ants tend to crawl over my arm. So if I start looking like I'm tweaking out, it's because of little black ants. I promise it's not the drugs. Not that I take drugs, but just so you know, if I look like I'm tweaking, it's the ants. All right, so this book was part of, I know, how distracting is that? I take a drink of my coffee. So this book was part of a vote scenario that I had up a couple weeks ago, or no, 1 week ago on Substack. Gonna go ahead and get into it because other than my tweaking story, haven't really got started. So this is actually not organized by chapters, is it? It is organized by chapters, but the chapter's not labeled. 1. Hannah. He doesn't know I'm alive. For the millionth time in 45 minutes, I sneak a peek in Justin Cole's direction, and he's so beautiful, it makes my throat close up. Though I should probably come up for another adjective. My male friends insist that men don't like being called beautiful. But holy hell, there's no other way to describe his rugged features and soulful brown eyes. He's wearing a baseball cap today, but I know what's beneath it. Thick dark hair, the kind that looks silky to the touch and makes you want to run your fingers through it. In the 5 years since my assault, my heart has pounded for only 2 guys. The first one dumped me. This one is just oblivious. So, before I continue, there's a little bit of backstory that you don't get kind of privy to till about page 25 or 30. And the way that the author kind of works it in is pretty masterful, I'm not going to lie, because, granted, the word assault could mean a lot of different things, but it's sort of a subdued word before she goes into the actual explanation of what happened to the main character. At the podium in the lecture hall, Professor Tolbert delivers what I've come to refer as a disappointment speech. It's the third one in 6 weeks. Surprise, surprise, 70% of the class got a C plus or lower on the midterm. Me? I aced it. And I'd be lying if I said the big red A circled on top of my midterm hadn't come as a complete shock. All I did was scribble down a never-ending stream of bullshit to try to fill up the booklet. Philosophical ethics was supposed to be a breeze. The prof who used to teach it handed out brainless multiple-choice tests and final exam consisting of a personal essay that posed a moral dilemma and asked how you'd react to it. But 2 weeks before the semester started, Professor Lane dropped dead from a heart attack. That's hardcore. I heard his cleaning lady found him on the bathroom floor, naked. Poor guy. This is another thing the writer does. Out of nowhere. Kaboom. So it's kind of fun. Luckily, and yep, that's total sarcasm, Pamela Tolbert stepped up to take over Lane's class. She's new to Briar University, and she's the kind of prof who wants you to make connections with it and engage with the material. If this were a movie, she'd be the young, ambitious teacher who shows up in the inner city school and inspires the fuck-ups, and suddenly everyone's picking up their pencils, and the end credits scroll up to announce how all the kids got to their Harvard or some shit. Instant Oscar for Jennifer Lawrence. Pretty much a masterful paragraph, but like I said, the F-bombs, they start. Except this isn't a movie, which means that the only thing Tolbert has inspired her students is hatred, and she honestly seems to grasp when nobody's excelling in her class. Here's a hint. It's because she asks the types of questions you would write a frickin' grad school thesis on. I'm willing to offer a makeup exam to anyone who failed or received a C- or lower. Tolbert's nose wrinkles as if she can't fathom why it's even necessary. The words she just used, willing? Yeah, right. I heard a ton of students complain that their advisors about her, and I suspect the administration is forcing her to give everyone a redo. It doesn't reflect well on Briar when more than half the students in a course are flunking, especially when it's not just the slackers. Straight-A students like Nal, who's sulking beside me, also bombed the midterm. For those of you who choose not to take it again, your 2 grades will be averaged. If you do worse the second time, the first grade will stand, Tolbert finishes. I can't believe you got an A, Nell whispers to me. She looks so upset that I feel a pang of sympathy. Nell and I aren't best pals or anything, but we're sitting next to each other since September, so it's only reasonable that we've gotten to know each other. She's on a pre-med path, And I know she comes from an overachieving family who would lay into her if they found out about her midterm grade. I can't believe it either, I whispered back. Seriously, read my answers. They're ramblings of nonsense. Actually, can I? She sounds eager now. I'm curious to see what the tyrant considers A material. I'll scan and email you a copy tonight, I promise. The second Tolbert dismisses us, the lecture hall echoes with let's get the hell out of here noises. Laptops snap shut, notebooks slide into backpacks, students shuffle out of their seats. When I read that, I swear in my head, or in my mind, I was watching an 80s movie. It was pretty masterful. Justin Cole lingers near the door to talk to someone, and my gaze locks in on him like a missile. He's beautiful. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and stop because, yeah, guys don't like it if you call them beautiful. Not like it's an insult, but we're kind of like, huh? What? I don't speak for every guy. I'm not going to lie. So, The Deal by Ellie Kennedy. I really liked this this book because it was a lot of fun, and one thing that it did very well is it went from first person, the main character who's female, to third person to her love interest, who's a hockey player, and it would be considered hard to do, but the author does it really, really well. And I would have to say that transition was one of the reasons why, and I don't want to be stereotypical and say that, chick flicks are for chicks, but that was one of the reasons why I was able to hold my attention as a male reader because of the transition. It was done good. I would venture to guess that a high percentage of people that read this book, probably guys. I found it. So, it was definitely a thumbs up. I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 stars. I thought about giving it 5, but in all honesty, it kind of had Jerry Maguire vibes with the F-bombs, and it probably needed 16 candles. I think that probably would have been a little bit more appropriate for the story, but I can see why the author went there because there were, like the word assault came up. There were some pretty serious tones in there. So, I can understand that. So, moving along to the darkness. Ooh, I did choose a girly rom-com book, but I can't get away from the traditional horror stuff. I Saw It Out There by Tom Lyons. So I stumbled upon a link for this book on Meta, Facebook or Instagram. I don't remember which one it was. And Tom Lyons writes all sorts of books that kind of center around paranormal, cryptid, basically anything spooky in the woods, other settings as well. And I love this stuff. When I was a kid, I know I've spoken about this particular book before, but I would check out Daniel Cohen books from the library. He wrote most of these in the 70s, early 80s, and you can't get them anymore. This is a used book that I got off Amazon. I don't remember how much I paid for it, like $9 or whatever. Originally sold for like 73 cents, And the Encyclopedia is Strange. I checked this out from the library. This is going to make me sound a little nuts, but that's okay. In elementary school, probably 25 to 26 times, somewhere around there. I wasn't keeping track back then because I wasn't quite a statistician, but the books that I have read by Tom Lyons, I've read 2 of them. This one, I Saw It Out There, was the better of the 2 that I've read, just because the way it was written, but it reminded me so much of Daniel Cohen books. And I was like, yes, it's great. I get to act like a child as I'm 47 years old or whatever. But, so if you ever get a hold of, there's an ant. I'm not tweaking, there's an ant. If you ever get a hold of a Daniel Cohen book, definitely lucky. But the Tom Lyons books really do it well. So I'm just going to go ahead and start reading from where I left off because might as well. So I'm on page 40 of 71. I had not finished this book because I was finishing the hockey romance book. But it's a compilation of stories. Report number 6. I grew up near Jasper, Arkansas, a town in the Ozarks. My brother Sam and I spent most of our summers fishing, hunting, and camping, and we never got spooked by the woods until the night of the incident. It was late September, just before the air turned sharp with fall, and we decided to take Sam's old boat out to a local pond for some night fishing. The pond was small, maybe 100 yards across at its widest, surrounded by thick pine and cypress trees. It was the kind of place that felt like it had hosted some wild times well before either of us were born into the world. We weren't new to the night fishing by any means. We knew the sounds of the woods, owls calling, frogs croaking, the occasional splash of fish breaking the surface. Great description. But at some point, the world went too quiet. There was nothing but dead silence. Sam was the first to notice. He was baiting his line when he froze, staring past me toward the opposite side of the pond. You see something? I whispered. He held up a hand. Listen. It didn't take long before I heard the footstep. It didn't sound like the splashy plods of an animal or the cautious wading of a deer or raccoon. Someone or something was walking on two legs straight through the middle of the pond. We weren't close enough to see much, just the faintest disturbance of the water's surface where the moonlight hit. But the sound was unmistakable, and the pond was 5 feet deep or so in most places, maybe a little more towards the center. That's deep enough that any normal person trying to cross it would be struggling, sinking into the mud, wading at chest level, or worse. But whatever this thing was walked straight through. I could hear the sloshing of water, the thick wet pull of mud with every step. It didn't pause or hesitate at all, and then it started running. 1 second it was taking slow, methodical steps. The next it tore across the last stretch of water at an alarming speed. The sound of mud sucking and releasing filled the air, and then, just as quickly, it hit the bank. I hoped to hear the sound of someone struggling to pull themselves onto land. The sucking weight of mud grabbing at legs, the telltale stagger of a body readjusting to solid ground. But it climbed onto the shore in one clean, fluid motion, and then the silence returned. Sam and I sat there, trying to make sense of what we had just heard. I could feel my heart thumping against my chest. Whatever the thing was, it had made it across the pond faster than anything should have. No human could have sprinted through that wastewater and thick sludge that fast. My hands shook as I reached for the flashlight at my feet. Sam grabbed my wrist before I could turn it on. Don't, he whispered. We sat there in the pitch black, waiting for any additional clues that might help explain things. But there was nothing. There was no footsteps retreating into the woods and no branches snapping. We weren't in the mood for fishing after that. Sam pulled up the anchor and we headed back to shore as quietly as we could. Neither of us spoke a word until we were back in the truck, peeling away from that pond like the devil was on our heels. The next morning we went back to the daylight just to prove to ourselves that it had been some kind of explainable event. But when we got to the bank where he had climbed out, the mud appeared untouched. There wasn't a single footprint. I don't know what we heard that night. I don't know what crossed that pond. I don't know where it went when we reached the shore. But I'm near certain it wasn't human. Ooh, spooky. So, 2 really good books. That one, I'm going to give it 4 stars because it is short. I wish there was more of it. And so 4 stars. Another 4-star book. This one I finished because I kind of had to. The story sucked me right in. It was very intriguing, and the author did a really good job transitioning to a more masculine-friendly dialogue. So very, very well written. Also, if you get a hold of any Daniel Cohen books, which are usually resold on Amazon, I'm sure you could probably find them on eBay, but I don't do the eBay thing. So awesome stuff. Written in the 70s. Nice little throwback. So, if you have remained with me, I thank you because I know it was 2 different books, different, genres completely. I did find it funny that the rom-com had the F-bombs and the total wild dialogue. I mean, it was definitely next level, so that made it appreciable. But if you have bailed out before this, sorry, I tried. But next time, if you have any suggestions for me to read, or if you'd like for me to do a long audio, my last post was my first audio as far as for books and everything. So if you want me to do a long audio, leave your suggestions in the comments, and we'll see you next time.